King Harthacnut dropped dead at a royal wedding in Lambeth. King Harthacnut, ruler of Denmark and England, became the most memorable guest at a wedding in 1042. The king abruptly dropped dead in the middle of a toast. As he stood drinking, he fell suddenly to the earth with a tremendous struggle, said a courtier. He was the last Scandinavian ruler of England, replaced by Edward the Conqueror. Béla of Hungary died after his throne literally collapsed underneath him. He was a warrior king, praised for his protecting and sovereignty of Hungary against the ambitions of the Holy Roman Empire, but Béla's literal seat of power proved his undoing. In September 1063, the throne's wooden structure collapsed under the Hungarian king, injuring him so badly that he died of his wounds. The severed head of Sigurd Eysteinsson's rival got the last bite. He was a prominent Viking leader who ruled Scotland's Orkney Islands in the late 9th century. He was a fierce warrior who battled his way into the Scottish mainland. Though he agreed to a peace meeting with the Earl of Scots, Sigurd single-handedly defeated the Earl of Scots, severed his head and attached it to his saddle. The motion of the horse's galloping, however, caused one of the Earl's long teeth to scratch Sigurd's leg. The wounds soon became infected, which ultimately led to the Vikings' untimely death. Catherine the Great had a stroke on the toilet. The death of Catherine II of Russia is one of the most outlandishly mythical royal deaths in history, because her servants spread a rumour that she died while having relations with a horse. The truth was far less scandalous. In reality, Catherine had a stroke in 1796. The royal is recorded to have passed in her bed, though rumours abound she actually died on the toilet. Charles VIII of France died from hitting his head too hard on a door frame. In 1498, King Charles VIII of France hit his head while walking out to watch a tennis match. He hit his head so hard, in fact, that he subsequently died from the incident. Today, doctors believe he likely sustained cranial trauma, which is what caused his quick death. He is remembered for this unfortunate and unlikely cause of death, and for his troops who spread syphilis across mainland Europe. King Adolf Frederick of Sweden ate himself to death. He reigned from 1751 to 1771, and he had to share most of his power with the Swedish Parliament. On February 12, 1771, he sat down for a meal of caviar, lobster, champagne and more before ordering his favourite dessert, the Nordic pastry semla, but he was not satisfied with just one serving. Oh no, Adolf Frederick downed 14 portions of the sweet treat. This binge literally cost the king his life, and he died that night after complaining of severe indigestion. A saddle finally conquered William the Conqueror. In 1087, William was doing what he loved best, leading men into battle, sitting astride a horse. The horse bucked in the heat of battle, and William was thrown forward into the saddle's pommel, rupturing his organs. 6 weeks passed before William finally died on September 9th, 1087. As monks prepared his body for burial, they had to stuff William's overlarge body into a small sarcophagus. In pushing the body into the box, William's bowels burst, unleashing a sickening smell throughout the building. Henry I died after going against his doctor's orders and feasting on eels. King Henry I ruled England with an iron fist. One of his weaknesses was lampreys, an eel-like bloodsucker. Henry's physician expressly forbade him to eat them, but the king paid no mind. In 1135 he indulged in them while on a hunting trip and died soon after, likely a result of the 50 eels he ate. William Rufus became the hunted during a hunting trip. When he died while hunting in August 1100, suspicions pointed to murder. The arrow that killed William was shot from one of his own men. Walter Tyrrell fired the arrow that killed William Rufus. Whether the shot was an accident or on purpose, he panicked and fled the scene. There have been suspicions that the king's own brother, the future Henry I, orchestrated the assassination. George II died while using the toilet. George was the last British monarch not born in Britain. He spoke English with a heavy German accent. He was also the last monarch to personally fight in a battle, but his death was decidedly less regal. On October 25th, 1760, the 76-year-old king visited the toilet, and while using the throne, George overstrained himself and died. Alexander III of Scotland fell from his horse in the middle of the night. In his nearly 4 decades as King of Scotland, Alexander maintained Scottish autonomy in the face of English and Norwegian aggression. But this most dignified king did not get a dignified death. In 1286, the monarch set out from Edinburgh to meet his new French wife at Fife. The royal party decided to ride through the night, and the weather quickly turned treacherous. Alexander became separated from the rest of his party and was found dead the next morning. It was believed that the king slipped from his horse. James II of Scotland got accidentally blown away. Both his reign and his random death were marked by violence. In 1460, James had laid siege to Roxburgh Castle in the Scottish borders and wanted to celebrate by firing a salute with giant cannons. James had long been fascinated with the new technology of war. When one of the cannons was lit, it did not fire like it was supposed to. Instead, it backfired, killing the king. A jousting accident unseated King Henry II of France. Henry II of France inherited one of the most powerful thrones in Europe when he was crowned king in 1547. At the age of 28, he was an active king and loved a good joust. In June 1559, Henry participated in a jousting tournament against a young Scotsman, the Count of Montgomery. As the two riders rushed at each other, Montgomery's lance went through Henry's eye and punctured his brain. He suffered for weeks and finally died on July 10th, 1559, at the age of 40. Alexander of Greece died from an infected monkey bite. On October 2nd, 1920, Alexander was walking on his estate when his dog got into a fight with a monkey that belonged to a member of staff. When attempting to break up the fight, a second monkey bit Alexander on the leg. The wound became infected and the infection spread. While he suffered for weeks, royal doctors debated whether or not to amputate the bitten leg. the young King Alexander finally died aged 27 on October 25, 1920. William Adelin, heir to the English throne, died in a tragic drunken sailing accident. When the prince drunkenly urged the captain to go faster, disaster ensued. The white ship slammed into a rock and began to sink. Though William made it into a lifeboat, he heroically turned back to save his sister. However, other survivors of the shipwreck scrambled to get into the boat, pulling William under and drowning him. Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI ate the wrong kind of mushrooms. As the head of the Holy Roman Empire, Charles was one of the most powerful individuals in the world during his reign, but power did not make him immortal. In October 1740, Charles died suddenly after eating what may have been poisonous mushrooms. His death led to major warfare throughout Europe and its colonies. And this concludes the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please click the like button, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for future videos. Thank you.